Hello and welcome to this episode of Luxury Insights with Dr. N. I'm Dr. Nameen, your host. Today we're going to ask a very important question. Can luxury be sustainable? How do you compete with centuries-old brands when you're building something entirely new? And how can innovation turn sustainability from a challenge into an opportunity? Luxury has long been associated with rarity, exclusivity, yet what if the future of luxury wasn't about excess, but about creativity, sustainability, and craftsmanship? And how those intersect to shape a new era of innovation and exclusivity. For centuries, the world of Swiss watchmaking has been built on tradition, rarity, and materials that symbolize prestige, gold, diamonds, and exotic leathers. But what if true exclusivity came not from what we extract from the earth, but actually from what we preserve? Today, we're stepping into the world of ID Genève, a brand that is disrupting the world of luxury watchmaking by proving that sustainability is not just possible in high-end craftsmanship, it is the next frontier of luxury itself. Founded on the belief that creativity flourishes within constraints, ID Genève transforms recycled material into elegant timepieces. From solar melted recycled steel and plant-based straps, they challenge everything we thought we knew about what makes a luxury watch truly valuable. Joining me today are the visionaries behind this movement, Nicolas Freudiger and Sébastien Crétny. Together, we'll explore how creativity, sustainability, and exclusivity can coexist and thrive, and why the future of luxury belongs to those who are bold enough to redefine it. Let's dive in. So, Nicolas, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's exciting to explore this topic with you and your brand all the way from Geneva. So please tell us about yourself, first of all.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. First time in the Middle East. I came before already, but I was just visiting some family. But now it's for ID Genève watches. So myself, I'm born and raised in Geneva. I grew up there. I then traveled a bit the world, but I studied hospitality at the École Hôtelière de Lausanne, the Lausanne Hotel School. And then I did a short corporate career in Zurich for about 4 years before quitting my job and actually going back to one of my childhood dream, which is to launch a watch brand. As many people know, Swiss-made watches, I really wanted to launch a watch brand.
Amazing. You quit your job and you just jumped right in with the career switch from hospitality. So actually, ID Genève is taking a fresh approach to luxury watchmaking. At what point did you make that switch in order to go into a sustainable luxury brand?
Well, I think, it was while I was working. So my last position in corporate was digital and e-commerce manager at Coca-Cola Switzerland. And I felt I needed to leave a better legacy, a positive legacy. And I think watchmaking, that's the beauty of it, right? A watch is already quite circular. Mm-hmm. You pass it on to the next generation. And what is the message you want to pass on? And for me, it was really about a daily positive contribution. I wanted to wake up and just go to work and making sure, I'm part of the good team, the team that wants to improve the status of the world. And this is how we came to be with ID Genève watches. And I think also at that time it was a responsibility that we have. I always tell the people now, all the entrepreneurs now, present and futures, need to embed sustainability in their DNA. I mean, this is a must now. It's not an optional.
It's
an
not a
obligation.
nice to have.
Exactly, it's a must have.
Yeah. Yes. I'm so glad you have this view on things, and I hope many other companies and young startups follow suit, and perhaps one day we can have a very different scenario. But when I was reading all the material about ID watches, one thing that struck me was normally luxury watch brands really focus on heritage and rarity and the material they source, etc. However, what's unique here is that you're focusing on being circular, on sustainable material, and various other strategies that make sure that there's the element of sustainability, while also making sure that it's beautiful in terms of design, that it's also luxury. How do you manage this balance?
It's a great question. I think I was talking with the CEO of Patagonia and Pangaea in the last Climate Week, and they were like 95 of our customers are coming for quality, for aesthetics, and I think this is why I encourage people to still work on this. In the luxury industry, one of the pillars remains le beau, le sublime in French, which is the beautiful, right, and the aesthetics, and this is quite important. I think this, if we want to play in that industry, you need to also provide something artistic, something beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's a prerequisite. Now, when you're talking about the definition of luxury, and I think this is where it's changing for us, right? We're going away from the mystical, to something more transparent, where we, explain and where we're transparent on our supply chain, for example, on our partners, on our partnerships, and I think this is something new also, but this is also something that the new generation will expect and is expecting more than the old generation. So we're seeing a shift in the luxury industry, and for me, this cursor is going towards more transparency and authenticity, and I think that's where we are also different with ID Genève.
Yes, and that's very well put, because then it makes me wonder, in the watch industry, and if you look at all the big players, what's holding them back from adopting this approach to sustainability?
Well, I think you said it also, this heritage, right? And I think this is why the importance of having newcomers in industries, because we come without this heritage, we come with a white page. We come with something to build on, right? And you see that in many other industries. I've talked about Patagonia, I've talked about Vejas, I've talked about newcomers that can also do things differently and build another perception, right? I always tell that, brands is perception of people, and the trust people have in this brand. And I think this is what we're doing differently. So the whole industry is doing a lot of positive things also, right? But they're not communicating on it. I think this is also part of the heritage.
I see. You think there's a gap in communicating.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think because the industry is quite, I would say it's quite positive. I would say, it's quite, people want to do things right. I do believe that, for the most part of it, and I think, but communicating is sort of perceived as negatively, right?
Yeah.
Or is what I call the syndrome of the perfect child, right? where we want to be perfect directly, but I think we're forgetting how much people are ready, to stand on the sideline and clapping for us while we do the journey. And I encourage people, right, to go outside with data, with numbers, and really see that the community will embrace that actually, and they're sometimes afraid of pushbacks or of what we call greenwashing or green bashing also. So yeah, that's an issue. But I hope also we can inspire and influence and accelerate the transition within the watchmaking industry.
And also maybe influence the perspective of consumers, right? Because often diamonds, gold, exotic leathers are associated with luxury watches, and that's what consumers seek. So how do you think, first of all, do you think it's possible to change that or shift that perspective from the consumer side? And how can we do that?
Yes, this is one of our mission, right? To change this perception. And
I'll tell you something. When I actually pitched this to the students and they read the material, they said, "Oh, wow, amazing! Grape skin," and they were reading all the recycled material that you use. And then one student put their hand up and said, "Oh, but look at the prices. It's actually a luxury positioning. So." Why would somebody my age, go and purchase a watch that's recycled for this price when I can buy one of the heritage brands that are not? So what would you answer? Because he probably represents a lot of people that think that way as well.
No, this is correct. At the moment, there's, people, when it comes to recyclability, quality, there's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
People, believe that, because it's recycled, it's not the same quality. At ID Genève, we make no compromise on that. I think our role is to create and propose credible alternatives, right? And I like that word credible because that means this is, one-to-one as, for example, animal leather. So every materials that we test, in our lab in Geneva is tested against animal leather one-to-one. And is not commercialized until we reached the same quality level of animal leather, and again that answers this because in the end, and I'm going to come back to the beginning of your question, which we call that the narratives of luxury, right?
The narratives of luxury.
Exactly.
Okay.
The narrative of luxury is that gold, diamonds, exotic leathers are part of this stream of luxury, and I think. If you look back, it's not been like that for ages, and we can change things. We can make sure that in the future we can change this narrative, and find gold and diamonds where, with new eco materials, right? And I like to create those parallels, right, for the consumers, because we put value behind that, And if you support right now a change maker. An innovation and something like that, it can help accelerate the transition worldwide. And I think that's the sweet spot, perhaps, for Swiss watchmaking, because in the end we're a low volume industry, but a high quality, and we have standards with Swiss made quality that is recognized worldwide, and with that, we at ID Genève want to use that as a platform for climate heroes, climate solutions, to harness this power and put it to good use to accelerate the transition and the adoption also of these new materials. Because I want, and it's starting, in luxury cars, you will see that grape, that grape textile, in Bugattis, you will see that. And we need to make that the most desirable option out in the market.
Yeah.
And through luxury, we do that.
Yes. Did you say Bugatti?
Yeah, Bugatti, for example, is using those textiles.
Are they? Yeah. Which textiles?
Vegea, with the startup in Milano, which is called Vegea, which is producing an alternative to leather.
Yes.
I don't like to talk about leather, or vegan leather, because it's not real leather. That's why I talk about textile.
Yes.
So it's
it resembles, mimics.
Mimics the leather, but it's not leather.
Yeah.
But they work with vegan textile, so Vegea textile, for example, which is using a grape residue post vinification. To do that. So.
Yes. So one thing that caught my eye is the solar melted sustainable steel or recycled steel that you use. So was there any challenges in making this happen?
Yes, definitely. So when we first started, we went to have a lot of interviews, focus groups on sustainability and on the mapping of this ecosystem, right? We always think about this is an ecosystem. We need to see where there are opportunities.
Oh, can you tell me, just dive a bit deeper into that when you finish your point?
Yeah, we'll do. And we met those people in recycling facilities. And we understood that there is, in Switzerland, we're not recyclers, Most of the waste gets sort of packaged and then sent abroad, right, to be melted. And sometimes even the stainless steel can do twice the travel around the globe. And
which defeats the purpose.
Exactly. So we said, we found a supplier in Jura that was collecting with 40 companies, the waste, but not just any waste, the top quality of waste, right? The Rolls Royce of stainless steel, which is the grade 4441. And he collected it for quality purposes, right? He wanted to have the highest quality possible. And then we measured together, an LCA, so we did a life cycle analysis of that steel, right? And it was 10 times lower than the industry average. And then we also did some tests with them on a solar furnace in France, in Montlouis. And we got down, so we did bars of 50 kilos of steel, and we got down the carbon footprint to 165 times less. So almost zero carbon, we were at 0.043 kilograms of CO2 per kilograms of steel. And our watch is 80 grams of steel. So you can imagine how close to zero we were.
Yeah.
But again, circularity is a journey.
Yes.
We'll become more circular, but I don't think, we'll ever have a zero carbon watch. It's not possible, right, to consume without consumption, in the end. So, but it was interesting because I think the method we used, and going back to this ecosystem, so I think this is what we do most, right? When we tackle an industry, tackle a material, we map the ecosystem, right? So we map all stakeholders, so everyone who's have a say in that value chain, we map it, right? And we understand it, and we understand where we want to, where do we see an opportunity, where do we want to act.
Okay.
And
so you have the value chain laid out.
Yeah.
You write down all the stakeholders for the primary activities, the supporting activities, and
so
then
we go beyond. Exactly. So we go beyond watchmaking. For example, here we're clearly into the metallurgic industry, right?
Yeah.
Which is globalized, which is, which now in Europe, for example, there's only just a few factories that do that,
Yeah.
In Switzerland, we don't remelt stainless steel.
Yeah.
It's over. We don't have the capacities, like the manufacturing capacities to do so. So this is why it's important also to map it and to understand it, because we're not experts on that. And really to go to the experts and understand and ask the question, how can we do this better, and measure it, make sure you're bringing a solution and not just adding another problem.
So your brand has built a reputation or a strong association now with sustainability. That's for sure. And so I'm just wondering, what do you consider is your most valuable innovation so far?
The innovations we're very proud of is this solar steel, as you said. We don't see it like this here, but the whole design also is solar. The yellow is very much close to the sun yellow.
Yes.
And on the inside of the dial, so this is the circular C model, it's very much also with the sun rays, because this technology is actually not new. It's an old technology, as old as, when you're small and you were using a lens to burn some leaves,
Yes.
This concentration of light, right?
Yes.
Through a convex mirror.
Yes, magnifier.
A magnifier, exactly. So we're using this technology, right, to remelt steel. And when you think about it, it's actually quite smart because the watchmaking industry is very low volumes, right? And we don't need to melt, 60 tons of steel, like as I mentioned, one watch is 80 grams. So it makes sense to be very agile with this technology. And we can remelt from copper to iron to stainless steel to gold to
Amazing.
anything, and I think this is a great advance. And there's a big project going on in Switzerland with a solar furnace coming to Switzerland also to do that and be at the disposal of all the industry, not just only ID Genève, but all the industry. And we're very proud of really being the first ones to have made those tests and really unveiling this opportunity.
I'm just curious how it feels. So is this leather the one made from grape?
Exactly, yeah. With the backing of a cork, because we thought it would go well also with wine aficionados. So this is from Portugal.
So this would be a men's watch?
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Very beautifully designed as well. I like the stitching. It's very intricate on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said the yellow is made of the face?
The face is made of brass. It's laser engraved.
Yes.
And with patterns of the sun also. The idea is that the whole design is also a tribute to the sun, because if you think about it, the sun has never sent us any bill,
No.
It's quite a free energy, and
it's free energy.
And here in Dubai, I mean, we know about it, right? Because it's very powerful. There's a lot of solar plants.
Yes.
And let me show you this one. This one is quite interesting because we go a step further. We work with a French startup called Nisia. And on the back of the strap, you will see the name of a chateau. So now we go with the traceability until the vineyard. So this is from Chateau Beaucastel, Chateau Neuf du Pape in France, where we have the permission of this chateau to have their logo on the back of our strap. So it's also first in the industry. This is millésime 2022. So each year, depending on the wine, it will have a distinct color for each year, So next year we'll have a different one, 2023, and each time that is gonna go like that.
Okay, but this color remains the same.
Yeah, the color remains as the strap. Yeah, exactly.
And the facade, the face is also brass.
Oh yeah, exactly. This one is also brass. We just tinted it in burgundy. This is a limited edition, garnet edition.
All right, beautiful.
Thank you. And this one, the last one here with me, is just I have the name of my son engraved on the back.
Oh, very nice.
It's just a watch that I will give to him when he's 18 years old. So now he's 3 years old.
Oh, nice. So why did you choose this one?
That's one of the first batch ever that we made of watches, and I just chose this blue color because I really liked it. And
yes, it's very elegant. And what's really striking is that looking at it is it feels like a very high quality, well-designed, aesthetically pleasing watch. And the nice thing is we know that in the process of sourcing the material and the process of manufacturing and designing this watch and maybe even marketing it, you've held the most high standards with remaining sustainable throughout the value chain. Mm-hmm. That's such a nice thought. And, I really hope that we reach more brands to be, inclined to behave in this way as well as businesses.
No, I hope. And there's a whole movement of brands doing so. We're also the first Swiss watch brand to be B Corp certified. B Corp is a holistic international certification for social and environmental standards. Mm-hmm. And we're the first watchmaking brand to go into that world. We're very proud of being pioneers here. And we know there's a lot of watch brands knocking on the door of this certification.
Yeah.
And we hope we hope for more in this industry.
Yes. And since you come from the hospitality industry, a lot of hotels as well are knocking on the door of B Corp certification.
Exactly. Definitely. I think, the whole tourism, I think for me, being a hospitality graduate, I think, luxury goes beyond the product, beyond just, the luxury industry. It's also the travel industry, the 5-star hotels. I mean, this is also part of it. And there's a lot of good initiatives, regenerative tourism. You see a lot of eco hostels, eco resorts.
Yeah.
And people are pushing that way. I think they want to have a positive impact while, still enjoying a nice, desirable holiday, right? Because I think this is what we're doing. I think this is the power of luxury.
Yeah.
Power of luxury is to be still at the same time, as you said, desirable.
Yeah.
And that's very important for us.
Yeah. Would you consider partnering with another sustainable brand?
Yes, we're looking into that. We're very fond of collaborations, but obviously we're taking also the time, right? We want to, so yesterday we had this event. We're partnering here in Dubai with Ahmed Siddiqui's and Sons, and we've been talking with them, for the last 2 years, and coming to the Middle East, we knew we wanted to go with them, and because they're leading here the space. And we want to make sure also that we're thinking long term. That's our mindset. It's like we do it once, but we do it well.
Yes.
And I think that's the whole mentality of the team also behind that. And we're not rushing to do a lot of collabs. We're really doing collabs with people where we are aligned with values. With this French company Nizia, this castle in France. This Italian startup in Milano. We're working with hemp, with recycled stainless steel, with solar steel. So we're putting in place, right now we've put in place about 15 collaboration.
Oh, amazing. Is that quite new? It's recent?
Yeah. And that's in the last 4 years of the brand, right? Since we started in December 2020. So that's been sort of the journey. Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay, so you obviously are competing against some very well-funded brands that have existed for many, many years. What are the key resources and capabilities that you think you have that allow you to compete in this market?
Very, very good question also. When I was launching ID Genève, people told me I was crazy. I was... because there is so many watch brands out there, and obviously I know that. But I think I also believe in pursuing your convictions, your own personal conviction, and I think we have a power of authenticity when you're the founder, and you want to create a new story, right? And again, the importance of newcomers, I think.
Yeah.
For me, it's crucial in every industry. I encourage newcomers to come in and challenge the status quo, and I think this is what we need. And
also, you're inviting new rivals to come in.
Exactly. Okay. Also, yeah. And also in other industries, also in the luxury industries, but also in other industries, I think we need to take the leap of faith. That we need to be courageous, right? Because if we wanna see different results, you need different entrants, right?
Yes.
So if you just leave the status quo, we will not get new results.
Yes.
We cannot expect, and I cannot expect to just work for a company and then expect different results if we're not changing the model also, right? And this model comes also with the newcomers that can really challenge it and make it more desirable. So that's one. And obviously we're also very agile. I think I think about agility a lot because we can adapt the products. We do road shows where we come, and for example yesterday we presented the Elements collection, which will be delivered in April, which gives us time to adjust to and then we ask, and then we get a lot of more information through those events. on what do people want also to see on the watch, and the excitement yesterday about this new collection Elements was incredible. I think I got so many great positive feedback.
Oh, nice. So you get some, it's like a loop that where you listen to your potential clients. So you secured 2 million Swiss francs, right? From Leonardo DiCaprio, none other than Leonardo DiCaprio, which shows that he really believes in your brand, that there's something there.
Yeah.
And it also reflects maybe on him as well, that he's a big believer in making an impact or change with a young brand such as yourselves. So how has this financial backing actually influenced your strategic decision making?
Well, we're so thrilled, to welcome him as an investor. He's part of the 2 million, right? We also have other investors that believe in the brand. And 2 million, as you mentioned before, it's quite small, if you compare it to the luxury industry. But as we're growing very well organically, our focus was really to build influence, right? To look for smart money and, just really the right people around the table. That's my role as CEO, is really to put the right people around the table. And obviously, I was showing you the article of the New York Times in 2021, which is, a call that I had in mind. I was interviewed in November 2021 by the New York Times, and I said that we wanted to work with somebody like Leo DiCaprio within the next 3 years' time. So why the next 3 years' time? First, it was because in 2021, there were the UN climate reporting that were saying, we have the next 3 to 5 years to turn around industries. This is where we get the biggest leverage. So this is where, I said, to our team, we need to be ambitious, if we want to change the luxury industry, if we want to change this perception, people have on recycled materials, right? We need to do it now. We cannot wait 25 years to do it, We need to make it happen now. And this is what I said to the journalist, and I remember the journalist at the time, she loved it. And I even said, that's perfect. Like if Leo reads the article, that's perfect,
Yeah.
Eventually through a lot of hard work, I got in touch with his team, and then we made history, 1 year ahead of schedule because it was in October 2023.
Amazing, yeah.
This has accelerated our development. I think this has been a really positive experience also for all of us. But as mentioned, I think, I only believe in hard work and and data.
It must have been a lot of hard work to get this off the ground.
Exactly.
It's really like going against the grain, of what's
it's
the path.
No, the reality is that not every day is easy. But again, we're doing it for much more than, just work. Sometimes I don't have the impression I'm at work, So it's really, I'm very grateful for that. I think, I could not be in a better place, And I remember the time I quit my job and I handed out my resignation letter. I would have never imagined, what unfold.
How did that feel?
I actually quite freeing. I remember because I always say that to the new generation. In the end, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, what's gonna be my legacy when I turn 65 and I retire? And for me, I was missing something. I was like, okay, perhaps I can be vice president of Coca-Cola Europe or anything like, and have a nice life, etc. But like I said, no, I actually want to try it, and I would not be okay with myself if I didn't try it, right? So this is why I tried it, and from trying, it got me to where I am today, and I think nothing is handed out to us anymore also. So this is why we're keep working hard also with the team.
So
and celebrate small successes also, that's important.
That's important. We forget to do that.
We tend to forget that, I agree, but we shouldn't dwell on it too much also. We should really think about what's next, how can I also make it better, make it nicer.
So you're with Sebastian. Where did you meet Sebastian, and what's his role?
Mm-hmm. Sebastian is our chief commercial officer and has been an advisor also to the brand very early on, actually. And we met in 2021 when he was doing his he was doing something at the Cambridge Institute of Sustainability certificate online, and he interviewed me, and I was really at the beginning of the project, and then we got along very well. And he's got a really intensive, extensive experience in the retail sphere, and we decided to work together, and we've been really working on the strategy, the retail strategy of ID Genève, and we believe that there's an opportunity in retail in building hand-in-hand the brand globally with a few key retailers, and so far we've had partnerships with Watches of Switzerland in the UK and the US, with Siddiqui here, and next with Ethos in India, also where we're planning to open 5 points of sales by the end of the year. So he's really leading this part for ID Genève.
Okay. So, right. So younger generations, Generation Z, millennials, they're more conscious on sustainability. And how is ID Genève actually tapping into the shift in consumer values?
So what we've realized is that actually, we have a lot of, in our persona, right? We have a lot of different generations, right? Not only, what I thought would be the case, only the young generation, the Generation Z or millennials. I think we have a whole broad range of people that believe in the new economy. I think I would say that. But obviously we realize that, being more transparent, working with different narratives, working with different materials, this is a great appeal also to the new generation.
Yeah.
And we do have more response, more engagement from this generation.
That's great to hear.
So I'm very positive. I think, in the future, it's also this positioning that we want to build.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to really welcoming more of those customers in.
Yeah. So your ultimate growth, your ultimate goal really is to grow, as with any brand, and maybe to attract more funding, more backing, and so on. But on the other hand, you want to remain exclusive to a certain extent, to remain luxurious. How do you balance the two, not growing too much?
I imagine somebody walking on a straight line, right? Having two weights on each side, and really, two forces. And really the idea is to walk on that straight line, right? And walk as straight as possible. And this straightness, this is your convictions, right? This is where it all starts, because convictions, again, first is an ingredient to charisma, and second, they don't change no matter what, right?
Yes.
No matter what, if I do this project or not, I have those convictions, and this is where we're focusing on, and I know sometimes it can be a bit paradoxical, right? Sustainability and growth.
Yeah.
But I think they can go hand in hand, and we call it, for example, third type growth, right? So we focus at growth on how do we create sustainable growth, so not too fast, not too slow, but how can we attain at some point, a quantity of watches where we can say, hey, we're happy with that. We're not going to produce any more than that,
Yeah.
But at the moment, we're still on the scale-up phase.
Okay.
Where we also need to create volume and create a community worldwide, where it is in Dubai. Yesterday, I met about 50% of the crowd yesterday knew the brand, but 50% didn't, So, I mean, this is also, we need to create more brand awareness. And because we want to be a global identity, I think we want to be a global identity. I want the people to walk in any store, big stores in Japan, New York, London, Dubai, and ask for the most sustainable watch and be pointed to ID Genève, and be really recommended, and that we are a top of mind choice for this new generation of luxury buyers. I think that's my vision really for the next 5 to 10 years time, which is quite ambitious, I know, but we're on track. We're on track to do it.
You have two challenges: attracting more funding and also changing the mindset of the consumers, which it sounds like from your event last night that everyone was already kind of, there's a movement towards that. So it's quite hopeful, I would say. And maybe the fact that it's made in Geneva gives it this extra credibility as well, because we all associate it with...
Completely, coming back now to the name ID Genève, I think, as you said, it's all here in the name.
Yeah.
ID for this new identity of luxury. It's your also ID, your own identity, right? That you want to project on the watch. As a jewelry. It's an extension of your personal values, right? And
yes.
And then Geneva again, because it's one of the capitals of watchmaking worldwide.
Yeah.
And is renowned, for a lot of watchmaking,
Yeah.
and because we're proud of that heritage.
Of course, yeah.
We're Swiss-made kids.
Yes.
But we're just trying also to hope that we don't become the industry of inequalities, right, in the luxury industry, and that we do something, because you look at statistics, right, and I think the top 1%, is about 48% of GHG emissions, right? So. I think this is also, something to say, hey, what do we do, as an industry to make sure that we're still there in 250 years? And I think that's a responsibility. That's also part of this responsibility.
That's fantastic. So where do you see the luxury industry going, the luxury watch industry going in the future?
Well, like short term, I think, right now, the last year was not a good year. I think this year it's not going to be a great year also for the industry, but it will rebound, as it's working in cycles. I think we're shifting, from mystical to more transparency, and I think the players who are not seeing that will be left behind. And it's about also how technology can help also here create more transparency.
Yeah.
And how to avoid any probability that there's something wrong in the value chain. I think that's quite important, because right now, if you look at gold and diamonds, the value chains are so complex, right? And I'm not pointing any fingers here, because obviously this is the globalization, but is how do we avoid that, the end consumers, still has a probability that something went wrong in that value chain, right? And I always see it like that, because I'm a bit of the data freak and I look at data, and I always like to ask myself, if we partner with this or if we do that, is there a probability, even very small, even if it's 0.01%, that something went wrong in the environmental or social value chain? And usually the case right now, it's that there's still some probabilities. And it's how do you put down those probabilities to zero, right? And how can you really be accountable to an extent where, again, talking about the mapping, that you go to the map that is also far from you, right? And how can you be accountable? Because I think with the luxury good, you have the margins, you have the time, you should be able to do it. And this is why so far we have not engaged in any mine gold or mine diamonds, because I'm not sure. That's the answer right now. I don't know if there is a probability, and for me there is at the moment a probability that something is going wrong. So we're just being authentic and saying at the moment we rather not do it until we can really do it well, and do it with the probability that there's zero probability of having, a negative externality on the value chain.
I'm so pleased to see such efforts and projects happening, such as yours, and the fact that we are collaborating and, working with the class is a form of grassroots kind of movement. So we're reaching the young minds, to tell them, look, you can consume luxury, you can have nice things, but they don't have to harm the environment, to put it very simply. And so it would be a great pleasure on your next trip to host you and to introduce you to the students, where you can explain your perspective and maybe pass on some of that passion, and conviction onto the students, and maybe in the future to your son as well.
Yeah.
I'm really, really honored that you managed to find time in your short trip in Dubai.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I love, and thank you again for this invitation. I really love to take also sometimes, with the new generation, right, of leaders. They will be the first and last generation, right, to do something about climate change, right? And I think that's a big responsibility that we're giving them.
Yes.
And we need to support them, right? And
Absolutely.
I always like to, to take at least 1 hour a week or two to really give back. And I'm happy, we're coming back in November. We just confirmed our participation to the Dubai Watch Week.
Fantastic.
In November, so I'll be back this year again. So we can definitely organize something around this.
That's great. Nicolas, thank you once again, and I hope to stay in touch.
Yeah.